What's good, sentient microbial sacs? Welcome back to Skating in Science with me, Josh. Today we're going to talk about invasive species. Oh, are you asking me to tell you who the ultimate invasive species is? Um, I'm sorry, I'd love to, but it's kind of a trade secret, and uh, they'll kill me if I tell you. But I'll I'll see what I can do.
Here's another pack of low-grade morons who ought to be locked into portable toilets and set on fire.
Amen. An invasive species is any species that is spread into an ecosystem in which it is not native. The problem with invasive species is that since they have not evolved alongside the other organisms in an ecosystem, they often have no predators or pathogens affecting them in their new environment. Without these selection pressures, these species have a tendency to outcompete native species, which can lead to the extinction of numerous local species that previously filled the ecological niche. You can think of it like this. Imagine a race between two runners. One runner has to traverse a dense forest with meteors flying at them at all angles, while the other gets to run on a nice mowed lawn. It's easy to see why invasive species outcompete the native species for resources. There are thousands of invasive species worldwide, from zebra mussels to fire ants to kudzu to the Asian giant hornet, aka the second plague upon humanity in the year 2020. The problem of the invasive species proliferation is essentially an anthropogenic issue. It is largely a result of the globalization of the world economy. In the modern day, no country provides all of the goods needed by its citizens. It's an outdated and inefficient method of survival. Certain regions are better equipped and endowed with resources to produce particular goods with much greater relative ease and therefore cost. As a result, goods from one country are shipped to other countries, and those countries may further amend those goods and send them to even more countries. Unfortunately, other species often stow away on our travels. Sometimes they are accidentally carried, and other times people sneak them through customs. In the end, the result is the same. Species are carried from their native environment to a new one, where they could have an advantage over the native species. Sadly, this has become a pretty big issue all over the world. I actually created a series of maps using ArcGIS on the effect of globalization on invasive species proliferation a while back, and I figured I would use some of the visuals to discuss this topic. The link to the entire story map is in the description, which will allow you to look around the map yourself. Unfortunately, I created it using publicly available data, some of which no longer is available, so I believe one of the slides is no longer visible, but I'm going to try to fix that. Anyway, for those of you who don't know what ArcGIS is, it's a geographical information system that allows you to plot data with spatial components. I find it really useful for visualizing trends over space, which is why I chose to investigate this relationship using this software. In this map, I overlaid data on port activity with marine invasive species data. The size of the token indicates the relative port activity. A larger token is a port with greater activity. The colored segments of the ocean represent relative presence of harmful invasive species in a region. As you can see, there's a general trend of increased port activity being associated with more harmful invasive species in a region. In this map, I plotted an invasive species distribution map for the state of California over a map of the state's major highways. It becomes quite easy to see how human travel and invasive species are interlinked. We carry species often on purpose to new places where they can cause problems for native species. Lastly, the Idaho State Department of Agriculture searches vessels for zebra and quagga mussels at designated invasive species checkpoints. For boats that were found to have mussels, they noted the last place the boat docked. As you can see, mussels are all over the US. And when you think about the fact that boats are traveling from location to location and sitting with boats in other docks that are going to other locations, the sheer ease at which organisms can spread becomes quite scary. But what can we do about it, you might be thinking? Actually, a lot. If you're interested in working with governments and scientists tracking invasive species, there are numerous citizen science programs that rely on citizens to help search very large geographic areas for invasive species. I'll link a few of those in the description. You can also become an ecologist if you feel so inspired. If so, I'd love to know about it. Lastly, don't try to sneak items past customs. Those rules are in place for a reason. You always have the memories of your vacation. The harm that could be done to the environment just isn't worth it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. One like equals one less day of quarantine. I'm just kidding. Or am I? Don't risk it. Just like the video. Also, comment and subscribe. As always, keep it loopy.